Hello and welcome to my kitchen. I'm Judith. Today I'm going to do a recipe that I developed many years ago when I was working in a restaurant. Originally it was done with sole. We used to get these beautiful big sole fillets and they were frozen, so we just pull what we needed out of the freezer, throw it in a pan and poach it in white wine. Sole is fairly expensive these days and I'm not sure how sustainable it is, so instead I have a Basa fillet, which I did get frozen, and there were two in the package, so easy enough to split up. You just open the package and pop them apart, put the other one back in the freezer if you're not going to use it, and then I thawed it overnight in the fridge. Now you could use any white fleshed fish as long as it's flaky. Something like halibut would be a bit too dense, although it would work. So this is my recipe for poached sole. Today we're using Basa in a lemon and shrimp sauce. First thing we need to do, since the fish won't take long to cook, is make our sauce. Let's get started on that. So to start our sauce, we are going to put just under 1/4 cup of butter into a pan on very low heat. You don't want the pan too hot because we don't want to brown the butter. This isn't a cream-based sauce, but it's still going to be very light in color. So we'll give that some time to melt and then we'll continue. Now that our butter is melted and starting to bubble, we're going to add our flour. So generally you want to add the same amount of flour as you did butter. We'll see how that goes, but a little at a time, because we're making a roux. And many people stop before their roux is complete. Like a lot of people would stop here. It needs more flour. And that is what your roux should look like. At this stage, it doesn't really matter whether you use a whisk or a spoon. So yeah, you kind of want it to look like a dryish dough. Now we're going to leave that, again, on the low heat for several minutes, just to cook the rawness out of the flour. So that will sit there and cook. Although the rule of thumb is equal amounts flour and butter, doesn't always work. You have to be aware of the humidity, the moisture content in your flour and in your butter, and exactly how you want your sauce to turn out. And don't forget, give this a little bit of a stir every now and then while you're cooking. Please don't raise the heat. Try make it go faster because you don't want to brown anything. That will totally ruin it. Alright, so our roux has had about 6 minutes to cook, and yeah, it is starting to take on some color, which is why we want to stop it now. So we are going to add, and when I developed this recipe I did use a Knorr seafood stock, which I can't find anymore. So this is a very light chicken stock. That was 1 cup, and it's not going to be anywhere near enough. Now we have to whisk to break up all the dough lumps, break up the roux, and I'm going to add some white wine, and that was a homemade Würstelminer. I love Würstelminer. This one was given to me by a friend. It smells beautiful. Now to this, we want to add the juice of half a lemon. So think I took out, no, I didn't take out all the seeds, so make sure you squeeze either separately or through your fingers so that you catch any seeds. There you go. Then we're going to add 1 small bay leaf and a teaspoon of dried dill. So we need to give it a little taste. Now we're adding 100 grams of shrimp. And half a teaspoon of kosher salt. Now, you don't have to use kosher salt, that just happens to be what I have. Double check your lemon for seeds, and then drop that half a lemon in there. And of course, we're doing this all on extremely low heat. The residual juice in the lemon and the zest that is whole, so you can remove it, you're not going to end up biting into lemon zest, is all in there, and we're going to take it off the heat now. You can cover it, put it aside until you're ready to use it. Okay, for the side, well, the starch anyway, what I used to serve it with when I worked in the restaurant was our rice, which you could probably do at home without that much trouble, but it was basically boiled rice mixed with a lot of chicken stock powder. Not chicken stock, but the powder. And it was very yellow and very salty. It was tasty, but you know, it's also something that these days you probably don't want that much salt in your dinner. I'm going to do some lovely yellow potatoes, but we're going to do them a little differently. They're not just going to be boiled. After I give them a good scrub, I'm going to take my peeler and peel a strip off around the center. Then we will boil them, and then we will mix them with some parsley and butter in a frying pan, and they're going to be tasty. Over in this pan, we have our melted butter that's going to be used for our potatoes, and we're going to put in our cup of parsley. We're not trying to do anything weird with the parsley. We're just going to let it live in the melted butter for a while, and this is on very, very low heat. If you want, you could add some roasted garlic in there. Okay, so now we need to poach our fish, which I have heated our white wine. If you don't want to use alcohol, go ahead, just use water with some lemon juice or a very mild chicken stock. Lay your fillets in. I have cut my Basa fillet into 4 pieces. When I did this in the restaurant, I actually had access to a lovely pizza oven that we kept at 500 degrees. You can turn your home oven to 500 degrees. This time of year, I don't want to. It's hot. So now, to emulate the pizza oven, I'm going to put the lid back on. This won't take very long. That has been probably 2 minutes. And if you are using wine in your sauce, use the same wine with the fish. You want to make sure it's cooked. So we're just going to leave this in the hot broth. Like, turn the heat off. If you think it's getting overcooked, take it right off the heat. Like, totally off the stove. But our potatoes are still cooking. Our vegetables are cooking. So it'll be a bit before we put our dinner together. When you've got everything cooked, portion your meat onto plates. Take your lovely potatoes, drain them, and put them in the butter parsley. There we go. Give them a really good toss. And we've kept this very low heat, so it's not browned, it's not burned, it's just fresh parsley and butter. We're going to put these on the plate with the fish and continue with our plating. I know I said you want your sauce thick, but we don't want it paste thick. So if it doesn't run smoothly off the spoon, you want to add a little more either wine or stock or lemon juice, depending on the flavor. Just taste it and decide which you would rather put in. This is a little too thick, but I want a little runnier than that. So let me taste. What do we got here? The dill, the wine, the lemon. I think if I need to thin it, and I probably should, I would use a little bit more of very dilute chicken stock. Your sauce comes out a little too thick, feel free to thin it out. Thank you so much for watching. Please, please give the recipe a like. Try it. But it is such a wonderful, wonderful sauce. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you again soon with a new recipe. Thank you so much for watching.